Welcome, everybody. It is no, not Thursday. It's Friday. It's Friday afternoon. I know we're not normally hanging around with you guys at this time, but it's Friday afternoon. I am Ralph Garcia, and this is NGSC Sports. Of course, the website is ngscsports.com, where you catch all of your current content. Part of that current content, of course, we've been privileged to be able to cover the PWHL this year. That's the Professional Women's Hockey League. John, of course. John is my co-host, my partner at NGSC Sports. What do you say, partner?
It's Ralph, as always. Good to be with you.
Yeah, John, we got lucky. John got up there, and there's a team playing at the Sangus Center, John, right? Is that
Right.
what they play? And John says, Ralph, let's take a shot at this league. And I said, well, why not? That's what we do. And here we are covering Professional Women's Hockey League. The question, of course, always being from the wrong people. Oh, women in a professional league, what are they going to do? And how is this going to work out? And they've tried this before. Well, if you've been paying attention to this season of the PWHL, and you'll find out that people are filling arena, they're filling up arenas, they're filling seats, they're going to games, they're enjoying these games so much. I look forward to getting John's part of this, because the game and how it's growing. So we look forward to that. And today we have Gigi Marvin, and you have such a long career in hockey. You come from, by the way, I should say first, can we please welcome from the PWHL Boston, Gigi Marvin. Hello, Gigi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Can you notice how excited I am?
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
You notice that? And I'm noticing myself. I had to say that because I was saying, John, I'm as cool as they come, Gigi. I'm as cool as they come. I'm also as full of it as they come. But I noticed myself, like, the hairs up on the back of my head. I'm kind of nervous here. What's wrong with me? So that's the effect you're having. Gigi, number one, welcome to the show again. We are so happy to have you here to talk about the PWHL, your hockey career, which, wow. And I want to start, and John's going to break down. John, I'm going to let you break down all the accolades when you take over. Gigi, I'm looking, and you come from, where is it called? War Road, Minnesota?
Yep, you nailed it.
In a place where I'm going to guess, number one, I never heard of it. Number two, I don't know where it is. But number three, I bet you that I can tell that I know for sure that growing up playing hockey over there was not a problem. You can find playing hockey everywhere. So I want to know from you, hockey, of course, as you grew up being a men's sport, and you being a little girl, when was it what was that moment that you remembered that you said to yourself, I like this. I want to play hockey.
When I was just little, and what's funny is I would, just like the guys, we'd skate around all the time, just playing our own games, envisioning us winning the Stanley Cup, Game 7, overtime clincher. And so for me, I was just one of the guys, and that's what my dream was. And so not until the 1998 gold medal came along and I got to watch, and I saw, wow, there's actually women playing. That's actually something I can do. That's when my dream shifted, and I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. I want to win an Olympic gold medal.
And you talked there about the boys, because John is up in Massachusetts. I live in Tennessee now. I've been here 35 years, almost 40 years. But I grew up in the Bronx in New York City, the playgrounds of the Bronx. No hockey. Okay, we play street hockey on concrete, and obviously a whole lot different game. But the one thing that's always common is boys play with boys, girls play with girls. That's just the way it goes. But how was it for you? Because I'm assuming you had to play with the boys, and maybe you got a little beef trying to play with the boys. And how did that work out when some of them realized you were actually better than they were?
Yeah, so I always played with the boys growing up through 7th grade, and the opposing teams hated it. I was yelled so many different things. Everyone would yell, "Get the girl." You'd immediately see a ponytail on during warm-ups, and it'd be like, "Oh, that's fine. She's just a girl." And then all of a sudden we start playing, and the other team would just be like, she's got to go. We can't play this team anymore, just because they immediately assumed I was terrible because I was a girl. And then all of a sudden you play the game, and they're like, eating their words, wishing that they could not compete against us because of this whole boy girl thing. And so it was really challenging. There's tournaments I'd go to where they'd see my name on the roster, see that I was a girl, and they'd absolutely, yeah, of course you can play. Then all of a sudden warm-ups would come or the first period, and they'd stop the game and they'd be like, you know what, this is against our rules. We can't do it, just because of how I performed. And my teammates were incredible. They're like, no, we're not going. We're not leaving. This is ridiculous. This is, you accepted her before. You're going to accept her whether she's, regardless of her skill. Like, you accepted her into the tournament, so we'll play. And so I had great guys to grow up with. I never really dealt with that with my own town. It was just mainly the opposing players who were really hard to, I guess, compete against in that sort of way.
And then of course, as you're playing hockey and you're getting better, again, you're a young girl, and you know, so you're supposed to like the traditional things that girls like. But here you are, a young girl who's playing with the boys, better than the boys, loving hockey. At some point, you had to decide to yourself. You go, of course, to the University of Minnesota. Uh, at what point, I don't know, was it junior high school, high school? When did it click inside of you that, now I know you said about 1998 and you saw about play, and let me go to that as a matter of fact, because it's those moments in time, us as human beings, we have those moments in time that really grab us. And I'm wondering how that must have felt for you. Because for me, my wife and I were big WNBA fans, and we waited 2 years for that league. When it was announced, we waited, I mean, literally sat on our hands and waited 2 years for that league to start. We couldn't wait. So I can only imagine what you must have felt when you first get the word, you see the women playing, and how you must have felt at that moment, and what that did to your mind to say, I can do this. I want to do this.
Yeah, that's exactly what the process was. It touched something in my heart so deeply and so profoundly, and in a way that no watching guys could never do to me. Watching girls and and seeing people who looked like me, who talked like me, who were me essentially, like just older versions. I'm like, this is incredible. This is the coolest thing ever. This is what I want to do. And so it was something that really grabbed hold of me, and I ran with it for, clearly still am running with it. But it was such a meaningful moment that I know what it did to my life, and that's why it's so huge for me when I get to meet little girls now, because I know what that moment means for them.
So, if I'm correct, nearly almost 10 years after you see what you saw in 1998, you become a part of USA Hockey. And I, again, I'm having those goosebumps again, Gigi, because you're a gold medalist. You are a you're a multiple medalist. You've represented the country in playing hockey. For hockey fans like John and I, the Miracle on Ice is one of the greatest moments in, I'm literally getting choked up, one of the greatest moments in human history.
For
I don't,
sure.
I don't care if you're not a sports fan. It is one of the most iconic moments in human history. And John and I had the pleasure of literally watching this happen as it
Wow.
happened. It was impossible. I remember looking around like, I don't know, maybe the whole world's just going to collapse in and it's going to end right here, because there's no way that the Americans beat the Soviets. Now, what it must have felt like to get the call to represent the country, especially as a woman playing hockey.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was, and what's awesome, what's even like adds to it. So one of the players on the 1980 team, Mark Johnson, was my first ever coach at the Olympics. My first, like, I mean, like, how special is that? And so,
Oh,
yeah, it's really cool, like thinking back over that and just being like, wow, this is Mark Johnson. He won an Olympic gold medal. He knows exactly what he's talking. And he would sometimes like play in some of the drills in the games, and he still has it. We're like, you're incredible. You are such a good goal scorer. He could score at will, it felt like.
when you play it as well as he played it, it's kind of hard to forget it. Like you, I bet you if we saw you just in front, well, John Sr., he knows how good you are. So now you then go to the pros. One of the things that's, well, continues, you're getting me all emotional, Gigi. I'm going to get you for this. One of the things that has always gotten to me in women's sports is those special moments. But the unfortunate thing that, for the most part, until recent memory, if you're a woman and you want to play professional sports, you can't do it in America. You have to go across the pond into another country, far away from your family and your loved ones. You find yourself playing in these leagues that came about. You played with the Minnesota Whitecaps, I believe, the Boston Blades, the Pride. Please, tell us about, your time there in those leagues and how that came along and went for you.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. They clearly were nothing like what we have today, and but it helped me, and it was exactly what I needed for what was a lot of provided at the time to help me with my career for Team USA, help me continue training. But yeah, it was interesting because you don't have an equipment manager. You're skating like Tuesday, Thursdays at night at 9 o'clock. That you have to find your own ice time, call around the rinks and try to get supplemental ice time. You have to find your own strength coach, and you have to go to Pure Hockey and sharpen your skates for $7 a pop, or buy your own clear tape. I mean, it just was such an interesting. We always joked you don't want to leave college because college is as professional as it can get, and so it was a long ride and long road, but it was filled with a lot of victories as well. It was really cool to win a championship with both the Boston Pride and the Boston Blades in two different leagues, and it was really cool to be one of the players who was able to start kind of some of these, like basically be a part of not only the boycott for USA Hockey, but creating this league now and just kind of the PWHPA, which we were formerly before the PWHL, and so it's had its ups and downs, but it's really cool seeing what has been created as of today.
And then before I let you go, and then you find out there's going to be, of course, the PWHL. You're retired. You're not playing hockey anymore. So what happened, Gigi? I mean, you already had this fantastic career. You've reached so many heights. You've done almost everything that you can do in hockey, but then you wake up and say, I want to play. If that would happen, I want to play there. I want to do it.
Yeah, it's crazy actually, because so 2 days, literally, I can still remember it happening 2 days before the announcement was made that the league was starting in January. I think it was June 30th. So it must have been June 28th. I was like, you know what? I think I want to play again. Like, I would love to play again. And I just had that thought, like, out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, 2 days later, I'm reading this article saying, yeah, there's a new league coming. Everything that we've been fighting for is actually coming together, and it's going to be created. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. And so I like prayed about it, thought about it, ramped up my training. I'm like, let's go for it. I know I've been off for 2 years, but I still love working out. And so that wasn't a question. It was just more of like, how is it going to go? And so thankfully it went smoothly. My body responded really well, and it seemed to like naturally pick things up from where it was 2 years ago. But yeah, it's been such a blessing.
Last but not least, a simple question. Gigi, are you having fun?
Oh, a blast. Absolutely.
That's good. That's good. It's just a great story because again, you think of and again, you different from others, and a lot of girls came from where you came from, but there's a lot of girls who didn't come from places like Minnesota. I wonder how they got hooked on the hockey, but for you, it was a constant thing. And you say, well, girl likes baseball, girl likes football. Girls like hockey too, by the way. They like hockey a lot too. And here we have Gigi Marvin, PWHL Boston. Gigi, it's been a pleasure. I might come with some follow-up questions, but now it's time for the professor himself. John Doucette, Gigi Marvin, PWHL Boston.
Gigi, great to have the opportunity to talk with you. The 2 years that you weren't playing, how did you occupy your time?
I was a broadcaster for the Minnesota Wild, both on the pre and post game show,
Cool.
but also like the color analyst for the
Right.
games.
Oh,
And
cool.
did that experience help you to regenerate the idea of playing again?
Probably, but the thing is, I didn't wasn't thinking about playing again. I was just like, this is awesome. I get to start my second career. I loved it. I've always wanted to be a broadcaster. I was that kid who woke up and watched Sports Center highlights right before I went to school, and I always wanted to be Stuart Scott or Linda Cohn or Dan Patrick. And so I had a blast doing it, and I genuinely never was like, oh, I want to come back and play, or I'm gonna learn from a different angle the game of hockey so that when I come back and play, I honestly only thought about coming back and playing 2 days before the announcement was made. And so it hasn't even been a full year of thinking about it.
What was it about the PWHL setup that convinced you that it was a good idea?
Well, because it was incredible. What's the word? The founder, the financial backer. I mean, he was just incredible what he was able to do and provide, and the fact that there were so many behind the scenes people working in jobs like right off the bat there was like 40. I mean, that's unheard of in women's pro hockey, like pro hockey, what it
Right.
was before in NWHL or the CWHL, and I don't have the exact numbers, but there's no way there would have been 40 people on staff in the operations area in any of those leagues before. And so just the high stakes, high quality, incredible people, the funding, the financial support, and most importantly, like I knew if my teammates had said yes to this, and because we had been, what was it, 5 years kind of pushing for this,
Yeah.
like, they're not gonna settle. I knew who they were, I know who they are, I know what they stand for, and, so it was kind of a no-brainer as far as what it was to look like.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you drafted by the team or did you sign as a free agent?
I signed as a free agent.
Okay. Did you have to go through a tryout process?
Yep. Tryout was in November.
And how many women were there besides you for that tryout process?
Maybe 8 of us competing for, like, 4 spots or 3 spots, something like that.
And how interesting was it to be able to go through that process based on the experience that you had, the resume that you possess, to go through a trial process with other women that maybe didn't quite understand the landscape they were getting into?
Yeah, it was, I mean, I hopefully used my experience to my advantage and recognized what this was, what it meant. I mean, for me, I knew how special and unique it was. Like, there was no question how profound it was in my heart that, like, I want to be a part of this. I'm going to put every single inch of my being and cell, like everything in my like body to make this team. And so I think of course, it was nerve wracking because like I'd been gone for 2 years, and like some of these players who are like fighting for a spot next to me are 13 years younger. Like that's no joke. And so, but thankfully, like a lot of the things that I've learned over my career was able to help just help prepare me for those moments.
Has the league exceeded your expectations?
100%. Like it's so cool. The simple things. Like I think a lot of people look at me when they ask me about the league and they hear my response and they're like, "Are you really? You're just grateful that you can skate every day if you want, or that you get clear tape and you don't have to buy it, that you have an equipment manager." The second, like we don't people don't realize we didn't have equipment managers, we didn't have goalie coaches, we didn't have skills coaches, we didn't have video. Like the fact that our games are being streamed
Yeah.
and we have video coaches who can break down our games and provide an analysis. It's just like little things. The fact that we have athletic trainers right after practice, if you're injured, you can go up and get attended to. And so these things are huge for an athlete. And so those are the things. And then, of course, you talk about the bigger things, the attendance. I mean, it's the coolest thing seeing packed arenas across the country and North America for my teammates and I and the competitors. And so, like, I think that has definitely blown people out of the water with the response that we've gotten.
You're doing rather well at Sanger Center. You're averaging about 3,500 a game, which is exceeding the expectations that the people that run your team had before the season began. The response that you're getting from the local people who have come to these games must also be a rather reassuring thing.
It is. It's so fun to play in front of them. Like there's such great crowd. It's so loud. I love all the girls that come in their hockey jerseys, and the little guys come in their hockey jerseys too. But just it's been very surprising. Not to say that like I thought it'd be less than. I'm just saying I had no idea, to be
Right.
honest. Like
There is the unknown to this that
yeah,
really has taken over. Yes.
it has completely taken over, and just to see how energetic the fans are, it's the coolest.
And because of that, I think it's what really has allowed ticket sales to do what they've done, which is jump. There's no doubt about that. They have jumped, not only in this country, but also in Canada. Those games that you played up north of the border have been played in front of some really sold out.
Man, ridiculous. Wait a minute. I want to touch on something before I forget, because the great thing that you got done, John, that Gigi was talking about. Gigi, so I'm loving the emotion, because John asked you about the league. Is it going well? Blah, blah, blah. And you started talking, and I really started feeling it. And I want everybody to understand out there what Gigi's saying. I'm going to try to go over it again. You were talking about the fact that you look at a league and you're looking at things you have available to you. You're looking around you like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. You've dreamed of something your whole life, worked so hard for something, and got to that point when you retired of, okay, well, it's never going to happen in my lifetime, but I'll be around at least to see it happen, and I can cheer the ladies on. And here you are, a part of it. And like you said, trainers, equipment, video, stuff you didn't have to pay for. I can't imagine what it must feel like to see a breakdown of a game on a TV, and you're thinking, holy crap, this is our league.
Yeah, it's so like special. It's unbelievable. Or to get pictures, because our games were never really streamed before or put on TV and broadcast nationally. Like so to be able to get pictures from fans or my niece and nephew, showing them in front of the TV screen with their own Boston stuff on and cheering us on. Like it's awesome. It's really special, been special.
YouTube has been a great thing for this league, hasn't it?
Even for myself as an athlete, like I'll go watch, hit like stop, rewind, stop, and I'll study it, much less like just even watch for entertainment, because in the quality is so good, and even the commercials, like we've never had commercials before, and so all the different things that are involved in it is really top notch.
Okay, now we've gotten to the point of the year where it really is playoff time for the PWHL Boston team. You're 5 points back at the last playoff spot. You've got 5 games left. You're back to work on Thursday night when you see Toronto at Sanger Center. How does this team make the playoffs?
I mean, we got to win out. I feel like we just every single game, and so I think it's something that like we're all fixated on and focused on, and it's now or never. I mean, that's a simple thing, is that there's no way, or like we don't want to leave it up to chance.
Right.
We don't want to leave it in someone else's hands. We just want to take care of our business and win out.
Now, you're in an interesting position here because you've had 2 weeks off based on the World Championships taking place in upstate New York. How have you used those 2 weeks?
I was able to go home to Minnesota for a ceremony, so it was nice to kind of have a little bit of a break and a refresher. And then aside from that, we've just been, the rest of us that have been here, not at Worlds, we've been training and skating like normal, and had a couple fun competitions over the week, which was enjoyable as well. And so I think it was a great like ability for us to reset and like kind of rest, recover, regroup for this grinding last couple weeks.
It is interesting to have that kind of a break during a season.
It absolutely is interesting. I'm kind of like, are we in post like it kind of feels like the season's over in that
Yeah.
sense
Yeah.
where you're like, okay, are we training for next year? But we can't because we have games coming up. So it's one of those weird in between things. Because usually, I guess for me as an athlete, every time the season's over, you have like kind of take 2 weeks off, and we did have like a 5-6 day break, and so I'm like, wait, are my body's kind of like, are we going into full off season mode yet now, or are we still in season? And so it's been a unique thing, but we're real, like you can tell everyone in the locker room after today was just like, yes, thank goodness the whole team will be back come next week. We can start games again, and so that'll be really fun.
How much of the Worlds have you paid attention to?
Quite a bit actually, because we usually have it playing in our lounge area, and
Yeah.
so it's been fun to cheer on some of our teammates in the Finns, the Swiss, and obviously U.S. Canada.
Do you expect, and it's been talked about during the games that I have covered as longest, European players coming over here to eventually become a part of this league? Do you expect that that's going to become really the next phase of how this league grows?
Yeah, I would say so, because I mean, I think if you're a good hockey player, you want to play among the best, right?
Right.
Like that's kind of what we've seen even in the NHL. Like, of course, there's the KHL, but if you want to be the best in the world, the best players will come to the NHL or come to the PWHL. So I would assume that'd be the same transition.
And is that how YouTube really does become a great advantage for you, because it's going to provide those European players with an opportunity to see this league and to help them make a decision, yes or no?
Yeah, I think that's another really good benefit that like an added bonus
Yeah.
of what comes with the YouTube streams.
The expansion word has also been used several times with regard to this league. Is it something that needs to be done slowly, or is it something that can really take off as the league goes along?
I think
I
I
mean,
wouldn't
you guys
say
went to Detroit. You guys played at sea. You went to Detroit and played a game against Ottawa in which almost 14,000 people showed up. There
yeah.
seems to be the sense that Detroit will now become very much interested in having a team in that city based on that game. So if that ends up being the case, is that the way this league expands itself, by playing games in neutral sites and exposing the product to as many people as they can?
I believe that's the hope, and that's part of the strategy for sure. Because being able to draw almost 14,000 at a game, not only is that huge, good business wise, but that's
Right.
good for the players. Like I've had some teammates who've never played in front of fans like that, who've never played in front of a crowd or an environment like that, or been in an NHL rink to begin with, and so it was really special and unique. And I would say um, slow and steady like wins the race, but I mean, slow wouldn't be like 6, 7, 8 years, right? It'd just
Right.
be more of
Right.
a,
Three,
hey,
4 years.
right, we threw this thing together in 6 months, and there are definitely a lot of learning curves. There's definitely a lot of things that can be done better, and so why not iron out some of the things that and really solidify like your foundation, and then for sure, like it's been evident that the markets are out there, the response has been good, and so I've been very pleased with that.
The fact that this league was, as you put it, put together in a 6-month period of time, does it shock you how smooth this league has run based on the fact that it was put together in some ways on the fly?
I am shocked. I think it's just incredible. It's a testament to the owner, his family, and what they've done for us, how they've supported us, the infrastructure that's already been laid, and it's really not easy to do to start a business. I mean, any kind of business, it is not easy. And what they've been able to kick out and turn out with such little hiccups, I would say, is really
Mhm.
pretty impressive.
To me, the last piece of the puzzle is this: college hockey women's college hockey is trying to create uh, a place for themselves. More schools become more involved and create programs. Do you think this league can help the NCAA to create the idea that women's college hockey is really something that can become a feeder for this league going forward?
Well, I would hope so. I mean, because if you think about like a guy, like their whole dream is to make it to the show, right? And so
Right.
it's that's kind of what you see all the marketing with college hockey, especially with the Frozen Four going now. Like they kind of list out all the accomplishments. Yes, of course, the national championships they win, but like the players they've trained and developed to head on to the pro level. And so it'd be the same thing for us. You know, the dream for a girl is to play in the PWHL, and to get there would be through like the collegiate model.
And I think that really does become the next phase for this league, is to try and help the NCAA to understand that women's hockey is not only here to stay, but it can work at the collegiate level, and you can create something that really does become opening the door. You can open the door. You've opened the door to a certain point, but now you can really open the door if the NCAA jumps on board and says, hey, this is something that we want to become a part of and should become a part of.
Yeah, no, I think you said it really well. I would agree with that as well.
Yeah, you want to use the WNBA in a way as a measuring stick. For example, here was a league that came in, as you were saying, Gigi, the other leagues and hockey you've played in the past. You know, not the same skill set, not the same setup, not the same advantages. The ladies of the WNBA have had to go through so much. 25 years later, they've grown. Obviously, the PWHL wanting to do that. And you said something a little while ago, and I know you know this, but I thought I'd throw this out there. So you were talking about, and you're right. If you're a hockey player, no matter where you are in the world, where do you aspire to play? The NHL. You want to play with the best of the best. If you're a woman hockey player now across the world and you aspire to play hockey, you want to play with the best of the best, the PWHL. And Gigi Marvin, by the way, in case you didn't know this, you are a part of the PWHL, which means you are one of the best of the best. And I can't even begin to tell you how great it's been having you hear this, because again, I watched you. The moment for me in this interview was watching you and feeling you talk about all the amenities now that you have, all these things that you have access to, like you could skate. When you said we could skate whenever we want, you sounded like a 12-year-old kid ready to go to the playground. What a feeling that must be to know that, wow, you're paying me now. I have facilities, I have trainers, I have equipment. It has to be a great feeling. We cannot thank you enough for doing this, and keep it going. We're obviously with you here at NGSC Sports. John's at the arena. We're covering the game. We're rooting for you guys to make the playoffs and make the push. And Gigi, you're playing hockey, and the one thing I got out of this is you obviously love your game.
Yes, that's very true. Well, it's been so fun talking to both of you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
We'll see you Thursday night, Gigi.
Perfect.
Right. Thank you, Gigi. Gigi Marvin, PWHL Boston. You take care, Gigi. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Yes, thank you guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Gigi Marvin, PWHL Boston. John, great interview there with Gigi. To be able to talk to her about her everything she's gone through, her to make it, her career. And like I said, the big thing for me was the emotion that she showed, John. She's so grateful. That's the word. She's so grateful and appreciative of everything she has. And I like that moment when you were talking to her about competing in the tryouts. And imagine what she must have felt like, John. I'm 36 years old. I got kids here, 22, 23, 24 years old. I'm thinking a part of her was very confident, John, because you notice what she said. She was going to give everything.
Oh, yeah. And again, not only the age difference between her and the other seven, but also the resume that she possessed.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about somebody who already has an Olympic gold medal and other medals, who's played in the Worlds, who's played on the Olympic stage. So she understood the landscape that she was getting into, whereas maybe the other players that she was associated with on that day had no idea about the landscape that they were getting into. And that I would, as she said, that was a big advantage that she possessed, that she found a way to use to her advantage.
She knew, like she said, she knew what she was getting into.
Right. She knew what she
All
was
right.
getting into.
Great interview, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Of course, this is NGSC Sports. This was our interview special today with Gigi Marvin of the PWHL Boston. Of course, John is covering the PWHL Boston team out of Songus Center. John, they'll be back in play when again?
Thursday night, they get Toronto. As I said, they've got 5 games left, and they're 5 points out of the last playoff spot. So for them, the playoffs do begin Thursday night because they've got some work to do if they want to get there.
Yeah, like Gigi said, can't lose.
Well, they might be able to lose 1 game and get away with it. I mean, they might be able to win 4 out of 5 and get there, but you don't want to take
about it. Yeah, but that's about it.
That's about it.
Exactly.
The margin of error is really slim. There's no question about that.
Really slim. All right. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you, folks. Of course, this is NGSC Sports. Please remember the website. It is ngscsports.com, where you catch all of your current content. We appreciate you. We'll be back, and we will be back Sunday night, of course, within the Batter's Box, the NGSC Sports Weekly Baseball Show. Until then, peace. Have a great one.